What if the most revealing expression of love is not found in grand declarations, but in the quiet hours after midnight, when the world is asleep and only the truest versions of ourselves remain? That is where this story begins. Not under stage lights, not in front of cameras prepared for perfection, but in the stillness of night, where a single, unexpected moment turned into something the world could not stop watching. A video, simple in its composition, unassuming in its intention, surfaced without warning. And within moments, it spread across timelines, across conversations, across continents. Not because it was dramatic, not because it was extravagant, but because it felt real. In that now viral clip, Lee Min-ho is seen doing something almost disarmingly ordinary, preparing food, late at night, for Song Hye Kyo. And yet, nothing about it felt ordinary. The kitchen is softly lit, the kind of lighting that belongs more to memory than to reality. There is no rush in his movements, no sense of performance. Every action is deliberate, calm, almost meditative. The sound of utensils is gentle, barely breaking the silence of the night. He is not cooking for an audience. He is not aware of the weight this moment will carry once it is seen. He is simply present, and that is what transforms everything. Because presence, in its purest form, is rare. As the video unfolds, there is something deeply human about the way he moves. He pauses, as if considering what she might want. He adjusts, not out of uncertainty, but out of care. This is not routine. This is attentiveness in motion. A plate is set, a small detail, easily overlooked. But the way it is done suggests something more. Consideration, an awareness that even the smallest act, when done with intention, becomes meaningful. Then comes the moment that changed everything. She appears. Not dramatically, not announced, just there, quiet, almost hesitant, as if she did not expect to find him awake, let alone preparing something for her. Song Hye Kyo watches for a brief second, her expression unreadable at first. And then, slowly, something shifts. Recognition. Softness. A kind of quiet surprise that does not need to be expressed loudly to be understood. He turns. Not startled. Not performative. Just aware. And in that simple exchange of glances, something profound is revealed. No words are needed, because the moment speaks for itself. There is a subtle smile, barely there, yet impossible to miss. Not the kind meant for cameras, not the kind practiced over time, but the kind that appears only when something genuine interrupts the ordinary flow of a moment. He gestures toward the plate. An offering, not extravagant, not complicated, but deeply personal. And she accepts, not just the food, but the gesture behind it. What follows is perhaps the most powerful part of the entire sequence. They sit, close but not staged, comfortable but not posed. And in that quiet space, the world outside ceases to exist. Because what the video captured was not just an act of kindness. It was a glimpse into something rarely seen. The in-between. The moments that exist beyond schedules, beyond expectations, beyond the structured lives they are known for. Moments where identity is not defined by roles or reputation, but by connection. As the video continues to circulate, the reaction is immediate and overwhelming. Fans describe it as cinematic, not because of the visuals but because of the emotion. Others call it healing. A reminder that love does not always need to be loud to be powerful. But beneath all the reactions, there is a shared understanding. This moment felt different, because it was not trying to be anything. It simply was. There is a reason why something so simple could resonate so deeply. Because in a world that often celebrates the extraordinary, people are quietly longing for the authentic. For the small gestures that carry real meaning. For the moments that feel attainable, yet rare. And this was one of them. A midnight kitchen. A quiet act of care. A shared glance that said more than any scripted line ever could. For Lee Min-ho, this moment revealed something beyond the public persona. A stillness. A grounded presence. A willingness to show care not through grand gestures, but through consistency in the smallest details. For Song Hye Kyo, It revealed something equally powerful, a receptiveness, an ability to recognize and appreciate the quiet ways in which love is expressed. And between them, something unspoken yet unmistakable, understanding. As the video reaches its end, there is no dramatic conclusion, no final statement, no attempt to define what has just been seen, because it does not need to be defined. Some moments are not meant to be explained. They are meant to be felt. And this one lingers, long after the screen goes dark, long after the initial reactions fade, because it taps into something deeper than curiosity, something more lasting than attention. It reminds us that love, in its truest form, often reveals itself when no one is watching, in the quiet hours, in the simplest actions, in the spaces where nothing is expected, yet everything is given. So the question remains, if this is what can be seen in a fleeting, unguarded moment, what exists in all the moments that are never captured? Because if this midnight glimpse is any indication, then the most powerful parts of their story are not the ones the world gets to see. They are the ones that happen in silence, in stillness, in the quiet understanding between two people who no longer need to prove anything, only to be. And perhaps that is why this moment refuses to fade. Because it was never about the food. It was never about the video. It was about what it revealed. A love that exists not in spectacle, but in presence. A love that does not demand attention, yet captures it completely. A love that, even in the quietest midnight hour, feels undeniable. And yet the story does not end when the video does. Because moments like that do not belong to a single night. They echo. They return in memory, in feeling, in the quiet recognition of what was witnessed. After the plates are cleared, after the soft glow of the kitchen light fades into darkness, there is a continuation that no camera can follow. A continuation that exists only between two people. For Lee Min-ho and Song Hye Kyo, that midnight moment becomes something more than an isolated act of care. It becomes a pattern, a reflection of something consistent, something steady, something that does not rely on timing or attention to exist. Because true gestures are never singular. They are part of a rhythm. And that rhythm continues long after the world has stopped watching. Perhaps later that same night, when everything grows even quieter, when words are no longer necessary, there is a shared understanding that settles in. Not spoken, not acknowledged directly, but felt. A kind of comfort that comes from knowing that someone thinks of you even in the smallest details. That someone notices. That someone acts not because they have to, but because they want to. There is a difference between doing something once and being someone who does it naturally. And what that moment revealed was not effort. It was instinct. An instinct to care, to provide, to be present in ways that are often overlooked, yet deeply valued. As the video continues to circulate, replayed endlessly across screens, analyzed frame by frame, there is something almost ironic about its reach. Because the more it is watched, the more people begin to realize that what made it powerful cannot be recreated. It was not planned. It was not designed for impact. It happened because it was real. And reality, when captured honestly, carries a weight that fiction struggles to imitate. Viewers begin to project their own emotions onto it. Some see comfort. Others see longing. Some see a reflection of what they have. Others see a glimpse of what they hope to find. But at its core, the moment remains unchanged. It is not shaped by interpretation. It stands as it is. Simple, quiet, uncomplicated, and yet deeply profound. For Song Hye Kyo, that moment may not even register as extraordinary. Because when something becomes part of your everyday reality, it no longer feels exceptional. It feels normal. And perhaps that is the most telling detail of all. That what the world sees as rare, as heartwarming, as worthy of attention, may simply be part of how they exist together. A quiet routine, a shared language built on small, consistent acts. For Lee Min-ho, there is also something revealing in the absence of awareness. He was not performing. He was not aware of the impact. He was simply doing something that felt right in the moment. And that lack of performance is what made it resonate so deeply. Because authenticity cannot be staged. It either exists or it does not. And in that midnight kitchen, it existed fully.
Completely.
Unfiltered. As time passes, as new moments take the place of old ones, as attention shifts and narratives evolve, this particular glimpse does not disappear. It settles, becomes part of a larger understanding, a reference point, a quiet reminder of what was seen and, more importantly, what was felt. Because long after the video stops trending, long after the conversations move on, the essence of that moment remains. Not in the clip itself, but in the idea it represents. That love does not always arrive with noise. That care does not always need to be announced. That the most meaningful gestures often happen when there is no audience to receive them. And perhaps that is the true continuation of this story. Not what happens next in front of the world, but what continues behind it. In the unseen routines, in the quiet exchanges, in the countless small moments that will never be recorded, yet define everything. Because if one midnight gesture could reveal so much, then the story that exists beyond the camera must be far deeper than anyone can imagine. A story built not on highlights, but on consistency. Not on spectacle, but on presence. Not on what is shown,
but on what is lived.
And in that unseen continuation, the truth becomes even clearer. The most powerful kind of love is not the one that is displayed. It is the one that remains, steady and unchanged, even when no one is watching.